Carl Zalbo is the vice president and general counsel for NetChoice. And NetChoice, which of course represents e-commerce business and online consumers. Man, you ought to see the groups that are associated with them. They're big time. He's here on our Newsmaker line. Of course, NetChoice also works to make the internet safe for more free enterprise. I love it. And I love NetChoice because NetChoice has said, hey, listen, guys, we've seen all these regulations here, Carl, but instead of like telling certain ages of who may not or who may be able to get online, where are the parents? We need more parental help and more parental choice. And I love that because you're bringing more parents involved in the marketplace. I want to get to about whether certain laws may be end up passed by Congress dealing with social media, but as you know, Florida's got more than 33, Roger, ready for this? 33,000 technology companies that are dealing with national security and gaming change technology or game-changing technology on the national security. How big is this issue? Is it underreported? Like, for example, sometimes we'll cover a story where a government website got hacked dealing with national security. Does this happen a lot, Carl, that maybe is not being reported?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. So when it comes to personal security, data security, it's kind of crazy how many attacks we are seeing all the time. I mean, there are probably about 100 attacks going on as we speak from foreign adversaries trying to take down American institutions. There have been major hacks. A good example would be our federal government famously got hacked a couple years ago. The most sensitive information, our background checks on high-level officials, all got hacked several years ago. The entire federal administration runs on basically one operating system, and that's Windows. And when that gets hacked, everything gets exposed. But there is some good news. What we are actually seeing is kind of a spy versus spy effort when it comes to data security. So American innovators are primarily focused on out-innovating the rest of the world. That's what we do best. That's what the freedom our country has, and that's what it gives us. And so we are constantly trying to create new technologies, new systems, and actually AI is going to be really helpful in this, trying to better identify threats and stop them. And I'm not just talking about hacking our government systems. I'm literally talking about hacking your and my bank accounts and stuff like that, and the fraud that we're seeing online or over the phone all the time. So we're leveraging systems today to do that. But the real challenge for us is government. Whenever it moves, whenever it innovates, whenever it does anything the government doesn't like or sees threatening to its power, we oftentimes see government come in and try and stop it. And that's what your state, Florida, has actually been a really good job fighting against.
Why can't I get Carl? Why can't I get my bank account hacked and have more money put into it? Okay, anyway, so that's what. But Roger, go ahead. I know you wanted to.
No, I was asking. There's hacking, but then there's accessing sensitive information. Please tell me that government servers, even though they were hacked, the data was encrypted, so they have no idea of knowing what it was they were downloading, or did they have access to sensitive information?
Yeah, that's an important distinction. So oftentimes data breach laws make that distinction. It's access versus taking.
Right.
And so that's the important distinction. One of the challenges, though, is actually all of our data breach laws, they only cover businesses. So as any politician knows, any campaign advisor knows, there's a lot of our most sensitive and personal data sitting on servers and data sites of who you're going to vote for, how much did you contribute, what's your bank account number? What's your home phone number? How many kids are in your house? Same thing's true for every nonprofit out there. So when they get hacked, they don't have to report anything, and we don't even know about it. So that's one of the things where that's kind of a loophole that I think could get closed and should get closed is if somebody gets hacked, I don't care what your tax status filing is, it should be reported because that's my personal information that I gave to you, and that's something that I should know about, regardless of how you choose to designate on your IRS filing forms.
Carl Zalbo is the vice president and general counsel for NetChoice, and they're an e-commerce business, and they represent it as an association of online consumers. They're up front when they talk about the internet being safe for free expressions, free enterprise, and dealing with national security. Carl, who is China the biggest adversary that we have dealing with those who are trying to hack? I mean, after we were told, and I assume this probably happened after Ukraine was invaded by Russia, and of course we were threatened by glad that if we were going to do anything to help out the Ukrainians, that some of our areas of government entities were going to get hacked and things like that. If you had to put them in its order, who is the biggest adversary of trying to hack more of our secrets, or as Roger pointed out, our government sites? Is it China first, then is it Russia, or is it another entity out there of another country that may be under the radar that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, one of the challenges we oftentimes have is we only see threats on the horizon, threats from the outside. And actually, one of the biggest data breaches in U.S. history came from inside. It was a couple months ago. It was a former military employee who decided to impress his friends by sharing all of our most confidential documents, all the state secrets that he had access to on a gaming site. And that actually gave evidence of what we're doing in Ukraine. Same thing's true. There's a company out of Texas called SolarWinds. They got hacked, and that was some of our most sensitive data, and that was an internal inside the U.S. attack. So I think one of the challenges is when it comes to data security, you oftentimes look over the horizon at the threats abroad, but we should be looking at all threats, foreign and domestic. Now, one place where we are seeing threats, foreign and domestic, is in this global competition that you're alluding to, though. Right now, America is the leader on technology. We've been that for the past 50 years. We are the world's leader on freedom and democracy. We've been that for the past 200 years. But a lot of that is in jeopardy today, and that's one of the things that kind of gets me out of bed every morning, gets me to my job, is fighting against these attacks on free expression and free enterprise, especially coming from our current administration. We have a trial
great point.
that is starting today. A trial starting today. Biden's Department of Justice is going after Google, one of our greatest companies that we have. And it would be one thing if Google did something wrong, but the entire argument from the Biden administration is people like Google too much, and that's bad.
What, hold on, Carl.
I couldn't make this up.
Carl, quickly, I got about 4 minutes. Explain to the audience what that website. I mean, not the way. I think I know what it is. Explain to the audience what the lawsuit's about.
Yeah. So the argument from the Department of Justice is they think that because the default search on my iPhone is Google, Google has monopoly,
right,
and Americans are too stupid, too dumb to be able to switch to a different search engine. And unfortunately, the Department of Justice clearly has never seen the movie Field of Dreams. Field of Dreams is, if you build it, they will come. And that's exactly what Google has done. That's what Amazon has done. That's what America has done. We have built the best technology in the world, and the people come to it because it is the best. People use Google search because it is the best search. And the Department of Justice is like, no, that's not how anything works. It's when we tell you to do something,
right,
you must accept it. There is no choice. And that seems to be the ongoing mantra from the Biden administration. They can't understand the concept that Americans have free will. We have free choice.
Carl, before I get going here, and I want you back on because I think we could spend a half hour on this issue. You know, you got the Lindsey Grahams and you got the Elizabeth Warrens. They both agree that they want to regulate social media. The left thinks that they're not censoring enough. Some of the conservatives think they're doing too much censoring. Hey, listen, I don't have to like Twitter, X or Meta, but they're both a private company. They can do whatever they want. Besides all that, do you think that they're going to try to pass some sort of federal legislation tinkering with, it's for the safety of kids or something like that? Do you think something's going to get done before the presidential election, or is it just more conversation?
So on that front, I'm hoping it's more conversation because whenever the government decides to tell me how to raise my kids, that's when I step in. But we actually do have some good legislation in Congress. It actually passed out of the House back in March. It's called the Protecting Free Speech from Government Interference Act. And what it does, it says the federal government, the Biden administration, the Department of Justice, every federal employee is prohibited from using their government position for political purposes to pressure social media. In essence, it prohibits and makes illegal that federal employees cannot censor things like the Hunter Biden laptop. And it goes after their paychecks and their pensions. So it holds those employees personally and fiscally responsible for their misdeeds.
Well, I need to get you back on, and let's do it soon. We can talk about other, like, should there be an age thing by the federal government, or what about this, or who should be allowed and who shouldn't be allowed, and what type of speech. Let's do it again. Carl Szabo, Vice President and General Counsel for NetChoice. Carl, thanks for coming on this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.